last week, why do we sing? And we said that singing has beautiful benefits. Singing has beautiful blessings. And there can be no doubt that God placed great purpose in our singing. We said the first purpose of singing is obeying. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 18 through 20. We said the second purpose of singing is teaching. Colossians chapter 3 and verse 16. We said the third purpose of singing is encouraging. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verses 15 through 17. And so this morning we want to add to this list. I don't know that this will be a total list, a complete list, but these 7 aspects of singing I think are worthy of our time to study. And the fourth purpose of singing is proclaiming. Certainly you know that singing is an expression of our faith in God, our faith in Christ. In Psalm chapter 96, verses 1 through 4. Psalm 96, verses 1 through 4. The psalmist writes, "O come, let us sing for joy to the Lord. Let us shout joyfully to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving. Let us shout joyfully." That's Psalm 95. I apologize. Man, I'm really struggling this morning, and I appreciate your patience. Psalm 96. "Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bless his name." And here it is. "Proclaim good tidings of his salvation from day to day." We are to proclaim those things about our God. We're to tell of it. Verse 3, "Tell of his glory among the nations, his wonderful deeds among the peoples. For great is the Lord and greatly to be praised. For he is to be feared among all, he is to be feared above all gods." Now I remember when I was at Oklahoma Christian, my best friend and I determined that we were going to the mall to sing. We were going to go there and sing. And we realized that the two of us probably wasn't going to get it done. So we tried to talk to a bunch of people to come, and we talked to a couple of fellas, and we finally convinced them. They were apprehensive, but the 4 of us said, we're going to go to the Quail Springs Mall, and we're going to sing. And this is one of those malls that had 2 stories, and we were on one end of that mall where it wrapped around at the top, and we went in there, and I've done a lot of things, and I've been very, very bold in doing them, but I promise you that I wasn't bold about this. I was about as timid as I could possibly have been. In fact, I remember going in there and finding a bench, and the 4 of us were sitting on that bench. Now, I never looked up the entire time. We sang a few songs, and I mean, we belted it out. And people were actually gathering at the top by the railing and listening. And there were people down low that were gathering to listen to us sing. And all of a sudden, I noticed a pair of shoes walking toward me, and they were black, and they were shining real bright. And I started to look up, and he was wearing black pants too. And it was a cop. And he told us that we weren't allowed to be doing that we had to go outside. And I said, okay, well, can we sing outside? And he said, well, you can, but not on this property. We can't have you do that on this property. But you know, when you sing, you proclaim. When you sing, you declare about how great our God is. And I remember when I finally looked up and I saw the people up top and I saw them down low. And you know, even some people, they threw money at us. We didn't pick it up, but they threw it because we had the conviction to proclaim how great our God is. And I want you to know that conviction convicts. And when you're convicted about who God is and you tell others, that will draw them to our God. Look at Psalm 51. Psalm 51, verses 14 and 15 says, "Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God, thou God of my salvation. Then my tongue will joyfully sing of thy righteousness. You see, when you're convicted, you're going to sing about it, and that singing will convict others. And then he says, open, O Lord, open my lips that my mouth may declare thy praise. Now, I want to say that taking the time to read the songs that we so often sing is advantageous. Number 523 in our songbook is Our God, He is Alive. I can't think of a song that in a more profound way, that in a greater way, proclaims and declares who our God is. There is, beyond the azure blue, a God concealed from human sight. He tinted skies with heavenly hue and framed the worlds with his great might. There is a God. He is alive, and in him we live and we survive. From dust our God created man. He is our God, the great I am. Doesn't that proclaim who our God is? And doesn't it make a difference at times to read these songs instead of just sing them? Listen, I'm all about singing. That's the purpose of last week's lesson. That's the purpose of this lesson. But sometimes in the singing, we forget just how powerful the words are that we're singing. Let's sing together just the first verse. There is beyond the azure blue a God concealed from human sight. He tinted skies with heavenly hue and framed the worlds with his great might. There is a God, he is alive. In him we live and we survive. From dust our God created man. He is our God, the great I am. Singing has a remarkable potential to influence others for Christ. For heaven's sake, sing to proclaim. The fifth purpose of singing is strengthening. Singing can provide unparalleled strength in a time of trial. Look at Acts chapter 16, verses 22 through 28. Acts 16, verses 22 through 28. And here we pick up with Paul and Silas as they were persecuted for the miracle that they did in the healing of this individual who was possessed. Verse 22 says, and the crowd rose up together against them. And the chief magistrates tore their robes off them and proceeded to order them to be beaten with rods. And when they had inflicted many blows upon them, they threw them into prison, commanding the jailer to guard them securely. And he, having received such a command, threw them into the inner prison and fastened their feet in stocks. Now, I don't know about you, but if that was me, I'm certain that I wouldn't have responded the way Paul and Silas responded. Now, look here. It's the middle of the night, and it says, but about midnight, and that's about the time after I've been through all that, I think I'd want to be going to sleep. But it says Paul and Silas were praying, and what were they doing? They were singing hymns of praise to God, and it's so remarkable to me. It says even the prisoners were listening to them. And then suddenly there came a great earthquake so that the foundation of the prison house was shaken, and immediately all the doors were open and everyone's chains were unfastened. And when the jailer, who had been roused out of sleep, had seen the prison doors were open, he was about to kill himself, supposing the prisoners had escaped. But Paul cried out with a loud voice, saying, do yourself no harm, for we are all here. Brothers and sisters, singing can provide unparalleled strength in a time of trial. And it's so remarkable to me the way these men of God responded in this time of trial. And not only were they able to be strengthened, but they were having that impact that we talked about just a moment ago. They were proclaiming. They were declaring. And the prisoners were listening to them. There are two times in my life where this particular point stands out more than any other. I remember when Ted Crawford's father was clinging on to life. And he was in Dustin's house. He was in bed there. And a bunch of us went over there and we sang. We sang familiar hymns together. And I believe that at that time, it was a strength to his father. It was a strength to his family. It was a strength to every Christian who was there, pouring out their heart in song to God. And then more recently, a number of us went to the hospital where Sister Pat Hardy was again clinging to life. That's Teresa and Lisa's mother. And we poured out our heart to God in song. And I remember with the life that she had left, Pat was singing those songs. It was amazing. We were all singing. Pat was encouraged. Her family was encouraged. Those of us who were there from the church, we were encouraged to be in that hospital. And by the way, proclaiming, declaring who our God is and how we handle it when death is so close. But we were also greatly strengthened. Someone has said that music heals all forms of misery. Amen. I believe that is a biblical truth. In Psalm 18, verses 1 through 3, Psalm 18, verses 1 through 3, listen to these words from the psalmist. I love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. My God, my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. I will call upon the Lord who is worthy to be praised, and I am saved from my enemies. There's a consistent theme of strength throughout the Psalms, and it's no surprise that they were written to be sung. And so I want to sing number 866 in our psalm book. They're going to display it here. There it is. I will call upon the Lord. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. Know the Lord liveth, and blessed be the rock, and let the God of my salvation be exalted. The Lord liveth, and blessed be the rock, and let the God of my salvation be exalted. I will call upon the Lord. Amen. The strength from singing will render courage to press on during hardship. For heaven's sake, sing to strengthen. The sixth purpose of singing is rejoicing. And the Bible makes a direct link between singing and rejoicing. Now, I appreciate Brother Roy reading Psalm 5 and verse 11 for us this morning, but I'd like to read it one more time, considering the theme, singing and rejoicing. Psalm 5, verse 11. But let all who take refuge in thee be glad. Let them sing for joy. That's the point. Singing leads to rejoicing. Let them sing for joy, and mayest thou shelter them, that those who love thy name may exalt in thee. You see, we can exalt in God, and part of the way in which we do that is through our singing. Now, as long as I've been a Christian, I've noticed, I've observed, and when I got into the ministry, I've always made it my aim, my goal, to sing after a baptism. In fact, the song Wonderful just pops out. It just comes out After every time I baptize someone into Christ, I'm just going to sing wonderful. It just comes out. But more than that, haven't you noticed how we always kind of gather around after a baptism? And we sing. Well, let me tell you who picked up on that. Zoe Milton picked up on that. Because when her sister, Tia, was baptized, it happened to be at youth camp, and we had a great host of young ladies together, and we sang hymns of praise to God. And then her other sister, Ava, was baptized, and again, we gathered around and we sang. And so I get a text message from Zoe, and it's just a bunch of numbers. And I'm texting her, so what's this all about? And she goes, these are the songs that I want to sing when I'm baptized. And there were 18 of them. I've got them on my phone right now. In fact, I was like, well, I don't want to disappoint her, but I don't know that when she's baptized, we're going to be able to sing all 18 songs. But I've got them. I just have it noted in my notes, Zoe's list. That's what it is. 18 songs. And you know why we do that? Because when we sing, we rejoice. Look at what James says in James chapter 5 and verse 13. James chapter 5 and verse 13. James says, is anyone among you suffering? Let him pray. Is anyone cheerful? Let him sing praises. John Wesley wrote, singing is as much the language of holy joy as praying is of holy desire. Do you understand that when we pray, it's because we've got a desire on our heart, and God has given us this avenue to let it be made known to Him. But singing is as much the language of holy joy as praying is of holy desire. We sing because of our joy. Now, what's your favorite hymn? I'm not asking you to answer audibly, obviously. That would be chaos. But I want you to think about it. What is your favorite hymn? What pops to mind? Maybe it'll be different from day to day, but when I ask myself that question, 456 pops into my mind. No Tears in Heaven. I love that song. Now I want to issue a challenge. Whatever your song is, okay? Can you sing it without smiling? I tried. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to sing No Tears in Heaven without a smile. And it's kind of comical because, man, I couldn't even sing. I couldn't even get the words out while I was trying to frown at the same time. It's just impossible. 875 in our psalm book is rejoice in the Lord always. And I want you to know that we really can rejoice in the Lord always if we're willing to sing. And so I want to sing this song through one time on this particular theme. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice, rejoice, and again I say rejoice. Rejoice in the Lord always, and again I say rejoice. Rejoicing without singing can be as impossible as singing without rejoicing. They really do go hand in hand. For heaven's sake, sing to rejoice. The seventh purpose of singing is glorifying. And I can't think of a higher goal in singing than to glorify God. I said in our first point that the fundamental point of singing is obeying. That's right. And I said in the second point that the practical point of singing is teaching. And I believe those to be very, very true. But the highest goal we can have in singing really is to glorify God. Look at Psalm 86. Psalm 86, verses 8 through 13. And I believe the psalmist here carries this point quite well. In Psalm 86, starting in verse 8, it says, "There was no one like thee among the gods, O Lord, nor are there any works like thine. All nations whom thou hast made shall come and worship before thee, O Lord." Well, what is one of the ways in which we worship? It is to sing hymns of praise to God, to him. And in doing that, we glorify God. Verse 9, the latter part says, "And they shall glorify thy name. For thou art great and doest wondrous deeds. Thou alone art God. Teach me thy ways, O Lord. I will walk in thy truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name. I will give thanks to thee, O Lord my God, with all of my heart, and will glorify thy name forever." Now, how do we do that? Again, to me, singing is implied here. These psalms were written to be sung. And then verse 13, "For thy loving kindness toward me is great, and thou hast delivered my soul from the depths of Sheol." When I was a teenager, and I think I mentioned last week that everywhere I've been, the churches would find times to go into the nursing homes and sing. So I'm sure you remember that. But when I was a teenager, in the church we grew up in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, we had a group of singers that would get together on Sunday afternoon to practice some songs to go into the nursing home and sing. And I have to be honest that my faith was very, very weak in some of those years. And I remember one Sunday afternoon that we were in the auditorium and we were singing these songs, and I just couldn't stay awake. I just kept falling asleep. And you can imagine that aggravated my father. It aggravated him a great deal. Although I don't know why, because it was in the pattern of my family, as long as I can remember, to take a nap on Sunday afternoon. That's what we did. Amen, Brother Juan. Amen. So at one point, he gets up and he comes back and he wakes me up and he takes me out into the foyer and he puts it in language that I wasn't going to miss. He's like, "If you can't stay awake to sing these songs, you're not going to play basketball this week." I'm telling you, that should have motivated me. But we went back in there, and I just started to fall asleep again. And he pulled me out again, and he said, "Listen, if you can't stay awake, then stand up." And so we went back in there, and I stood in the back. It's hard to fall asleep while you're standing up, isn't it? What does that have to do with singing to glorify God? You see, at that time, I did not have an appreciation for God and for what he'd done for me and for the messages of those songs. I honestly don't know now if it would be possible for me to fall asleep while singing some of these great hymns, because I have a greater appreciation for the grace of God and for the forgiveness of God and for the mercy of God and for the peace that he offers me. And so when we sing, these songs have a deeper meaning in my life. And I can't wait to be able to sing these songs with passion. Look at Revelation chapter 7, verses 9 and 10. Revelation chapter 7, verses 9 and 10. "After these things I looked, and behold, a great multitude, which no one could count." You see, that's what I'm talking about. Heaven is reunion. "From every nation and all tribes and peoples and tongues standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, and palm branches were in their hands. And they cry out with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our God, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. Now, I have to be honest that I cannot agree with everything that Billy Graham wrote and said. But I appreciate this quote. Our voices, our service, and our abilities are to be employed primarily for the glory of God. You see, that's why we sing. Ultimately, we sing to bring glory to God. Look at number 682. 682. To God be the glory. You know, I had another song picked out, We Will Glorify. I love that song. It's a beautiful song. But as I talked about last week, when you compare the old songs and the new songs, it's hard to improve upon the words of this great hymn. To God be the glory. Great things he hath done. So loved he the world that he gave us his Son, who yielded his life an atonement for sin, and opened the life gate that all may go in. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Let the earth hear his voice. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Let the people rejoice. Oh, come to the Father through Jesus the Son, and give him the glory. Great things he hath done. Let's sing the first verse of this song. To God be the glory, great things he hath done. So loved he the world that he gave us his Son, who yielded his life and atonement for sin, and opened the life gate that all may go in. Praise the Lord, let the earth hear his voice. Praise the Lord, let the people rejoice. Oh, come to the Father through Jesus the Son, and give him the glory, great things he hath done. The ultimate purpose of singing is to glorify God. For heaven's sake, sing to glorify. I love singing. I think you know that. But until I looked more deeply into its purpose, I didn't fully realize its power. Singing allows you to obey. Singing allows you to teach. Singing allows you to encourage. Singing allows you to proclaim. Singing allows you to strengthen. Singing allows you to rejoice. And singing allows you to glorify. Singing ultimately promotes faithfulness. Do you understand that? Singing encourages God's agenda. Singing prevents rebellion. What it does is that it discourages the devil's agenda. Let us never underestimate the power of singing. Whether it's when we come together like this, or if it's just a handful of folks in a nursing home, or after a baptism, or even if it's when you're by yourself. Can I tell you that perhaps I might enjoy singing the most when I'm in the shower and nobody else is around? Don't you love to sing? Hasn't our God been good to us in allowing us to sing hymns of praise to him and to the name of his Son? If you're not a New Testament Christian this morning, then when you sing, you don't have the privilege of honoring God in that way, because when we sing through Jesus. Everything that we offer to God goes through Christ. And the greatest blessings that you could ever experience, that you were actually created to experience, come through Christ. And so you have to appropriate his death. You've got to believe that he's God's son. You got to repent of your sins. You got to make the good confession. You got to be buried with him in baptism. And if you are a New Testament Christian and you've experienced the joys of singing in the past, but again, that devil, he's good. He is good. And he's caused you to wander away. And maybe you don't have the same appreciation for singing that you once did, and you want that joy back. Whatever your need is this morning, we're here as the body of Christ, the family of God, to help. If you have a need, won't you let it be known as together we stand and sing.
Have you been